If you know QwertyKeys, then you also know that if they were to make their own 65% Hall effect keyboard, that it would most likely be an absolute banger. And that's what this is. The QK Neo65 Sonic HE Plus, and yes, that's one hell of a name, is the first Hall effect keyboard that features their all-new in-house firmware and software. And coming in at $115 and available in 6 different colors, this absolutely needs to be the first thing you look at if you're in the market for a Hall effect keyboard. But before we get into any of that, as a quick disclaimer, this keyboard was indeed sent out to me for testing purposes and also for review purposes, of course. QwertyKeys have put a lot of emphasis on the actual testing and feedback for this product since I've actually owned this for over a month already. Obviously, I'm very thankful for sending this out to me as I'm a huge fan of their mechanical keyboards as well, but rest assured, none of that will actually affect my personal opinion of this keyboard. Now, before we get into the keyboard itself, I do want to talk about QwertyKeys first. If you do not know them yet, they are a huge brand in the mechanical keyboard space, where they have made a name for themselves for putting out insane quality at pretty darn low prices. Especially compared to the competition and also in terms of the fulfillment times, they are just so much quicker than other group buys and pre-orders. They also always have so many options for customization, and the end product that you get for their price tag is just fucking nuts. And talking about fulfillment periods, that also means that the Sonic HE Plus will have one, but only around 2 weeks since there are no options other than the color of the case itself. Also, despite being a Chinese brand, they do indeed offer a full year of functionality warranty. Getting into the unboxing experience, your keyboard will arrive inside of this carrying case with a handle. It's overall pretty high quality, comes with a lot of supportive foam inside of here, some extra slots for your bits here. Then you have a warranty card inside for that 1 year of functionality warranty. 4 extra switches, whatever this thing is, a keycap and switch puller, and also a braided USB-A to USB-C cable, of course. And obviously, the keyboard will be inside of that, which looks pretty awesome, especially for $115. It is a full CNC aluminum case with awesome anodization. It has this brass weight and it's overall rather hefty. And if you want to see a full teardown of this keyboard, stay tuned. The Neo65 Sonic HE comes with a 65% layout with a blocker right here, aka the right way to do a 65% layout in my opinion. As you've already seen, the case is super clean and so is the anodization. It is crazy heavy and overall super high quality. The stabilizers are tuned to absolute perfection. There's zero sticking or rattling, as you'll hear by the sound test later in this video. The keycaps are indeed translucent, so you can see the RGBs below. And here's what it would look like with RGB turned on. I do think that you either love, hate, or don't mind these sort of caps. I personally really didn't like them at first since they've got more friction to the touch than most caps. And you can also feel the print of the lettering on top a bit. But after some days, you simply get used to them and they haven't annoyed me since. These switches are definitely on the lighter side, which honestly is ideal for Hall effect gaming keyboards. They got box stems and have only a little amount of wobble, which is pretty impressive at a price point. The feel of these switches is absolutely awesome. They're super smooth and the return is very bouncy because of their long 20mm springs. So when you set this board up with SOCD or anything similar, it really does feel very snappy and crisp to play with. In terms of sound, I am not the biggest fan of this setup since it's really bright and also a bit rattly because of their switches, but I suppose you can't have everything on a $115 board. As already mentioned, I will include a full sound test later in this video. But yeah, the craziest thing to me is that MSRP on this board comes in at 99 euros, which is about 92 Swiss francs. That is just incredible. Now, for the teardown, if you want to disassemble your board, you need to carefully lift the module outside of the case since it is friction fit. Afterwards, you definitely need to watch out that you don't just yank on it like I just almost did. There's this ribbon connector here in the back of the PCB which connects to the daughter board here for the USB-C port. And here you can see how the keyboard is mounted inside of the case with these gasket thingies. There are these round slots around the case here, which these rubbery thingies just rest upon. And of course there's also friction around the case because they're slightly bigger than the inside of the case itself. Inside of this module you have the PCB at the very bottom. Then there is a thin PET sheet on top, which does indeed help with switch wobbling and overall makes the module as tight as possible. Then you have some plate foam inside, and on top you can see this carbon fiber plate. Despite carbon fiber being rather stiff, this does indeed have some bounce to it. but that is most likely because of these rubbery thingies being rather spongy. So in terms of the overall typing feel, this is much better than something like a steel plate wooden keyboard. But yeah, other than that, there really isn't that much to the keyboard. It is rather simple with just some more foam here underneath and then also some very, very thin case foam. This is just to reduce any sort of pinging that could be left over. But yeah, obviously nothing crazy. In my opinion, software is the most important part of any Hall effect keyboard. If the driver is no good, then the keyboard is no good. These things are meant to be tinkered with and tuned to your personal preferences. Whether it's gaming or typing, it needs to be able to do it all as easy and fast as possible. And I'm happy to say that the driver for this keyboard is great. The only things that I'm missing are profile duplications or function layer linking. So when you have to set up different profiles and you actually do use remapped function layers, you need to do that over and over again for the different types of profiles. But that is really the only thing that I have to complain about. For the performance, it is super easy to just select switches, select your actuation points. You could even set up dead zones if you want to do that. So if you just want a super consistent typing profile, you can do that. And if you want a super minimal dead zone over for your gaming profile, you can do that as well. Which is just great to see because so many keyboards have these preset for you and you simply cannot change them. And then of course you also have your rapid trigger settings if you want to do that, and it's super intuitive and easy to understand with a live feed over here so that you can see how far you're actually pressing your key. You also have different types of switch profiles, and if you want to do a switch calibration, you simply hit this button and it does it all by itself. You don't need to go in and press every single key by yourself, which a lot of softwares require you to do, and having to manually calibrate your keyboard is just something that you don't want to do on a Hall effect board. You always want it to be as consistent as possible without you having to touch anything, and this keyboard reassures that. You also have a lot of RGB settings here, which I personally couldn't care less about. And then you have the interesting segment. You have SOCD. You also have something that's called RS here, which just monitors two keys, fires the deeper key, which is definitely the setting that I enjoy the most, especially when playing movement heavy games like Fortnite or the finals. You also have all these other options, and if you're at all into any sort of mechanical or Hall effect keyboards, then this is something that you'll recognize quickly. And yes, you also do have mod tab. You also have the ability to rebind your entire keyboard with all these types of settings. And what I am super happy to see is NUHS and NUBS, which is non-US backslash and non-US hashtag, which is absolutely necessary for ISO typers. So many brands miss out on these two binds, and because of that, people like me on a Swiss layout cannot type backslash. But thanks to these binds, I can. So I personally do not care that this board does not exist as an ISO. And of course, you also have macros. Something that's pretty darn interesting are the profiles, because you have different types of binds for them directly on a keyboard. So if you want to switch between your typing and your gaming profile, you can do that by hitting function and then Q or W or E. This is actually set up by default, and the LEDs even light up in the color of your profile when you're switching in between them. I really like to see this, as this was included on the Pulsar keyboards as well. This way you always know which type of profile you're on right now. And inside of the settings, here are the features that you have here. You can also share your profile, so I'm actually going to share this in the description down below if you want my gaming and typing profiles as well. When it comes to performance, I neither have the means nor the interest to do any sort of scientifical testing. So here's what they advertise on their product page. 8K polling up to 0.01mm sensitivity and a response time of 0.125 milliseconds under optimal conditions. Please keep your eyes out for other reviewers if performance testing is something that you're interested in, as I'm never going to provide this sort of thing since I believe that the physical product is what matters most. All I can say is that I never had any type of issues with this keyboard, and it felt absolutely on par with something like my Wooting ADHE and all my other Hall effect keyboards. Now, to the conclusion. At $115 and releasing in 4 days from when this video was uploaded, there is simply no competition to this board. No other board at this price tag has this sort of build quality, mounting style, color options, and in-house drivers with almost everything one could wish for. This is in my book by far the best Hall Effect keyboard launch that I have witnessed considering its price tag. Of course, Wooting will forever remain the GOAT of all web drivers, but in terms of a complete package with an in-house driver, I'd say this is the first option you should look at if you're in the market for a Hall Effect keyboard right now. I know that this board was sent out to me for free, but I also know that not all of you need to buy this keyboard just because it's a great deal. Please think twice about whether you actually do need another Hall Effect keyboard. If you already have one, I would definitely recommend you to only get it if you're having issues with yours, or you're simply not satisfied with it. Maybe you could also be looking at a different type of layout if you're annoyed by your TKL or whatever. But if you do not own a Hall Effect keyboard yet and you mainly play shooters, then I can definitely recommend you to look into it if it's in your budget. This is not something that's gonna make you a better gamer, but if you're looking for something that's customizable that you can adjust to your playstyle, it's definitely an awesome tool with a lot of character. But yeah, I definitely do think that this is the only Hall Effect keyboard that you should be looking at this price category. I honestly would much rather just get this than spending hundreds of dollars on building your own customized Wooting. Anyway, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell right next to it so that I get notified for any upcoming reviews that might appear later this year. And thank you all so much for tuning back in. Hopefully I'll see you guys pretty soon again. Peace out.